Good afternoon guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another cold afternoon in South Yorkshire.
Baltic
as Dave would go with. So today we've had a lot of you ask and we've had a lot of people mention to Dave about what is his practice schedule, what does he do for practicing in general. Obviously he's had lessons previously before we obviously started this series, and he had things to work on, and a lot of you want to know what to do when you're practicing, especially through the winter when we're probably going to practice potentially a bit more and try and work on something, but even coming into the summer. Dave's laughing because he never practices.
No, I don't, that's true.
Terrible.
Shocking. Turn up on a Saturday morning, tea time at 25 to 9, turn up about 25 past 8, hit 3 putts and I'm there.
After 10 Stellas the night before. So, what we're going to do, we're going to talk through what I would expect a player to do, whether it's a tour player, whether it's somebody off 14, whether it's somebody off 28, just to help you improve and get you, enjoying a practice, not just standing there and go, well, I just hit 100 balls and then I go home, or go to the bar for another Stella, as Dave would say. So, first thing we do when we're practicing is a little bit of block practice, and that's what it's called. We're going to work on some techniques. The first thing we want to do is guarantee that we're getting a good strike, and then we'll start to go on to the next part of it. So we know from Dave's lesson we got him working on his alignment and working on his ball position. So the first thing when Dave comes down to practice, although he doesn't that often, is we get him to set up this drill. So we know that we can get him working on his ball position, we can bring some golf balls in, we can get him hitting. We're not too worried here going to a flag, even if we just go to the centre of the green. We take the focus away from result, we're just trying to get a good contact. And here I've got Dave with 3 golf balls, so he did listen to one thing I told him, which was don't come down here with 100 golf balls. He has got 3. So we use 3 golf balls to start with. We have got a Dave Harrison ball, which I'll now put on screen. 2. The only 2 he's got left. There we go, the only one's left. So we're going to get him in here now, do a little bit of 3 shots, 3 working on his technique, making sure his setup's correct, making sure he hits them to the middle of the green, and then we're going to go into the second part of what we'd expect. So, Dave, we'll use a Dave Harrison first. So we've got his sand wedge here, so we're using his 56 degree, so we're just using the wedge that he might use quite a bit, which is a 56. So we're going to play different shots here today, but that's the one he's going to warm up with. We don't want to go with something too low, so he's 50 and he starts coming out very low. We want something with a little bit of loft, get some confidence with using the loft and hitting it to the middle of the green. So Dave's got his alignment sticks down here. We know we're trying to get his ball position just forwards of centre, and also his alignment square. We're not standing open, we're not standing close. So good. And from here, Dave's going to, we know in his lesson that I'll tag above now, we used to see the chicken wing, as people have commented, or the elbow working away from his chest. So we're going to make sure he keeps that connection, he turns that body to his finish. So slightly open club face, good, middle of the green. Good, so the green's very wet, as you can see there. It did stop very quick, but good contact, up into the air, nice and flighted. So now what I'd get Dave to do is now try and get one that lands past that ball. So we're getting a little bit longer with the swing. Good. So slightly open with the club face, ball position forwards. Super, so again, nice flight, nice strike, landed past that ball and has ran out further to the edge of the green. So now that ball is close to the edge of the green, but we're going to try and get this one to land in between those 2, and then maybe run past the second ball. So we're constantly trying to get that a little bit further. I'm putting pressure on Dave.
You're not asking much here, are you?
Well, exactly. So we're trying to get you thinking about, right, if I need to hit it a little bit further, we're not hitting the same shot over and over again, because on the golf course, unfortunately, well, unless you hit some bad shots, you might have the same shot again, but we shouldn't have the same shot over and over again. So we're constantly changing, getting it a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. Perfect, so landed bang in the middle there, a little bit of a lower fly, came out nicely.
Different ball, it's not a Dave Harrison ball.
It's not a Dave Harrison ball, that's why. It's probably a Pinnacle Gold.
No, it's still the same.
Still a Pro V, bloody hell. Right, so we see there that Dave's worked on his technique, we've made sure his setup is good, and now what we're going to do as part of this is go and test some different lies. So we're going to do 5 awkward lies, or different lies, as we work our way around. We're going to take his wedges, so we're going to take his 56, his 50 and his pitching wedge, and we're going to play shots that would use those golf clubs. So
he's not allowed me to bring the lob wedge.
Lob wedge has been burnt and thrown away. Had a good run, but it's over. So we're going to now start to play some different lies. So what I see time and time again from amateurs, even if they set this up, they have a bag of balls, they have 50 balls, and they'll chip them all to one hole, and then they'll move to another one that might be a little bit longer, so they might hit 25 and 25. You don't have that shot over and over again. You're getting no feedback, because if you miss hit one, you then just hit another one that's alright, then you miss hit one. You're not getting any better there, you're just wasting your time. So here we've worked on his technique, we've made sure the things that we worked on in his lesson are correct, and now what we're going to do is play different lies that he would get on the golf course. If we can make it as much like the golf course as possible, when you go onto the golf course, everything becomes a lot easier. You've played those shots time and time again, you're more confident, you know what loft to go to, you know what shot to play, and hopefully you should hit it closer and lower your handicap. And we're currently waiting, although this is going to go on December, to see what Dave's changed handicap is. Nobody knows. So first lie we're going to do here, as you can see, we're on a big slope here, because Dave's even taller than me for once.
A bit like James Robinson.
Like James, this is what James often does. He wants to stand on the high side of the slope.
It's like short game Saturday.
It's like short game Saturday, so he looks at least taller than 5'4". But moving on. On a serious note, so we're working now on a downhill lie. So we're going to hit the 3 same balls. So again, every single time from each lie that we do here, we're going to hit 3, so we can start to be consistent. If we hit 1 and we miss hit it, you're not going to get any good feedback, you're not going to leave with confidence. So we're going to have 3. So we haven't been through this awkward lie with Dave before, so the biggest thing here we're going to do for Dave, we know that he's used to having a narrow stance, but just to make sure he doesn't fall over, because we wouldn't want to do that for Dave, you know, all the fans out there. But we need to make sure that he's with the slope. So the biggest thing I see with amateurs is they come onto these slopes, sternum's back, the weight is left, but you see that my low point now is way behind where the ball is. And what they do as a result, they catch the ground first, thin the ball,
Never see it again.
gone, dead, Dave Harrison ball lost. And we've only got 2.
We've only got 2 left.
So, shoulders with the slope here, Dave.
Yep.
We're going to make sure now that that club can work with the slope, and you're going to finish nice and low and in that position there. And here we are going to go to a flag, and I'm going to change the camera angle shortly. We're going to go to a flag. The first shot we'll see that we make sure that Dave gets with the slope, and then we'll go down the line and see how the ball is coming out. So on this kind of lie, we're going to use the most loft Dave has got, which we know is a 56. We're going to open that slightly. The ball position stays the same as when we're playing other shots, so it stays forwards, because now we're just going to make sure that our body's with the slope. And other than that, Dave, crack on.
So much bounce isn't going to let me top this now.
No, because we're with the slope, the bounce is not going to hit the ground and do that. If we are leaning back, then the bounce will hit the ground and you will thin that. So with the slope, good. That's it. So you can see Dave's shoulders are with the slope and he makes good contact with the ground. And he doesn't need much stroke to get this going now. Good, so popped up.
Bit of backspin.
Bit of backspin, so good check, gone to 3 feet. So I'll move the camera just to prove that, and we haven't moved them. Very good. Okay, so, and again Dave, so go through your setup, make sure that that's right.
Yeah, I'm doing what you said about, there's hardly any weight on this.
So yeah, that's it, so there's hardly, you can see that his shoulders are matching the slope and we can get that low point where the ball is. So with the slope, a little bit of loft on, good, and finish low. Super, so plenty of loft, running down there.
Make it a bit short.
A little bit short because there was plenty of loft on that one. We don't mind that. Good. Okay, so let's have a look from down the line now with Dave. So he is square to the target. Good, so running out nicely. A little bit short again. So all we'd have as feedback there is a little bit more backswing. The first one had a little bit of a longer swing.
It's difficult to commit to it because it's such a downhill lie, but I suppose after practice you maybe.
And this is why we move from different lies and practice these ones. Right, moving on to the next one, Dave. Which one's the next one?
The one in the bowl.
One in the bowl. So the second lie Dave wanted to do here is in this bowl. So we've got a little bit of a bowl here, we've got a little bit of a rise to the green. So, and we're going to go for the furthest one. So we've got a 30-yard shot. So we're now starting to think about what does Dave need to change. Does he need to change technique wise? Does he need to change club wise? What would it be his process, and how are we going to get this as close as possible? Again, we've got 3 golf balls here, so potentially you might do in practice, you might hit one with all 3 and start to see which one works best for you. Dave, although he says he doesn't practice much, he has had lessons before, so he knows now which club he uses for this shot. So Dave, which one would you choose?
30 yards, I'd be using a pitching wedge here.
So Dave would be using his pitching wedge, which is this one here with the black shaft. So this is part of his set. So Dave's going to be using his pitching wedge here, but if you're somebody who's not trialed and errored different wedges from here, go through them. Even if you've got the dreaded 60, hit a 60, it'll prove that it's the wrong club. But hit a 60, then maybe go down to your 56, then down to your 52 or 50, then to your pitching wedge. Hit 3 of each and see which is the most consistent. So Dave here, come on in. So pitching wedge, reasonable lie.
Yeah.
And one of the big things here is when you are practicing these lies, don't tee them up every time. So possibly bring them in. Ooh, don't top them, but roll them into different lies. Start to see, okay, I've got 3 different lies there.
Well, I have now.
He has now. So we've got 3 different lies. One that's a little bit bare here. We've got one that's sat pretty good, and we've got one that's a little bit above his feet. So start to play lies that you get on the golf course. Don't just give yourself a perfect lie every time, because unfortunately we don't get that on the golf course. So
You
Dave,
may hit that one with a rescue club.
potentially you could hit that one with a rescue club, but just because we're so close to the ridge, Dave's still going to hit his pitching wedge. Same stance here, so I will change the camera angle again to see Dave from face on, but the ball position stays nice and far forwards. It's a nice narrow stance, and here we're not going to have much wrist hinge. We don't need any hinge in the wrist. It'll be more the body rotation.
Ran on a bit.
So, good strike, good fly, landed probably further than you wanted.
Yeah.
So there's his big cross, as you'd see. You go, right, I missed my landing zone. So as a result, good strike, good fly, too far. So now all he needs is a shorter stroke. So same for this, same setup, and then we'll change the camera angle.
Talked myself out of it.
So a little bit too soft there, decelled a little bit into that. So this is where Dave can now start to figure out, as we go round the green, which ones he struggles with the most, and then he might come down and do a little bit more practice of this after. Although he's probably going to go for a Stella, as it is Friday.
It's going to be a coffee, you know I don't drink.
Oh yeah, he doesn't drink, don't Dave? He's a coffee man. Caramel latte with some marshmallows. Good, so ball position a little bit further forwards, good.
Poor.
Poor. So again, we saw that Dave there didn't commit to that stroke. It wasn't as long back as we wanted. So the first one was good, a little bit long, and then he started to decel. So this is where Dave would probably look at potentially changing club, or Just practicing that shot a little bit more.
Yeah.
So Dave, where are we off next?
Thick rough, short-sided, uphill.
Short-sided in the thick rough. So we'll go over here and we'll be going to this flag here. Perfect. Next lie, and this is the final one for this week, we're going to be looking at, which is out of the rough. So how many of you go down to the practice ground and hit out of rough? I'm going to say probably 1 in 20 of you will practice out of the rough, and most of the time that might be because there's no other lies to hit out of.
Rest the bear.
Rest the bear pan, and you don't want to do those ones either. So making sure you're playing out of lies that you do get on the golf course. So if you just miss the green, prime example here, we're only 2 or 3 yards off the green, and this is a lie that you're more than likely going to get. So we need to make sure we're practicing that. So we're short-sided this time, so we're short-sided to this flag. We've probably got around about 8 yards, 10 yards max. So Dave, club-wise, we've obviously gone through this in the awkward lies. But
Sand wedge.
Sand wedge. So we've gone for the most amount of loft because we're now on an upslope, but we're below the green, and we want to make sure we're getting the height to not get stuck in some other rough.
As you said before, the worst thing you can do is leave it 2 yards short and you've got a similar shot.
Correct, so the worst thing we can do is leave it short, into the rough again, and we've got the same awkward short lie. So we're going to use more loft. Dave, after this, goes down to the 50, as we know, which for me would, even with the added loft of the slope, might still come out too low, and if it does, it's all a little bit fiddly. So we're going to go with a 56, we're going to go positive. Here, on the first lie, it's sat down, so we're going to keep the face pretty square, and Dave's going to have a more up to down motion, as we've spoke about before. So he's going to hinge the club a bit higher, down into the back of the ball, and get that ball popping up. So we'll watch this from face on. Good, so just about got to the front of the green.
Yeah, I didn't really commit to it, if I'm honest. I was a bit worried about it.
It's gone very dark, but we're now back in the game. So didn't commit to that one?
No, not particularly.
So again, but you've given yourself feedback there, so you know what you did, you know you could be a bit more positive. So the next one again here, yeah, we'll go to this front one. It's sat down a little bit, so we'll keep the same club and we'll keep the same motion. So now we can be a bit more positive with this one. Good. Ooh, close.
That one nearly off and thrown in air.
Very good. So, better, more positive with that one, Dave?
Yeah.
So again, you learnt from the first one that you can now be a little bit more positive. So same here, this one sat down probably the same amount?
Yep.
Good. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay guys, so we've started to talk about some kind of plan of how to practice when you come down to the chipping green. It's not about taking down a bag of balls and bashing balls and being worried if other people are down there. 3 golf balls is good enough. We've worked on Dave's technique, so we've gone through your setup, we've got his alignment sticks down there, we've made sure his setup's correct, we've made sure his motion's correct. We've hit one just onto the green, we hit one past, and then one past that as well. So we've not hit the same shot 3 times in a row. We've worked on his strike, we've worked on his setup, and then we've gone into more realistic on-course situations. So we've started to play awkward lies that you get a lot of times on the golf course and we never practice.
No.
And Dave's hit 3 golf balls to each of them, so he's been able to give himself some feedback, start to see, oh yeah, I feel this, or I've done that. And to be honest, the rough lie, we've been very good. We've got one at 2.5 feet, one at 1 foot, one just on the edge of the green, which we'd be happy with for his handicap from here. He was a bit tentative, but
yeah,
Dave
just didn't commit to it at first, really.
didn't commit to it, but he's gave himself the feedback. So the first one he didn't commit to, then the second two have ended up at 1 foot and 2.5 feet, which we're going to be tapping in. And from here, it's not an easy shot. It's sat down. As we know, it's a bit wet at the moment, and it's not a guarantee. Ball below the feet, or the ball on the downslope. Another lie that we haven't yet gone through fully with Dave. We gave him a little bit of a chat, and he was able then to keep plenty of loft on the golf club.
Yeah.
We chose the right golf club, and you saw that if anything he could be more aggressive, whereas
surprising how much weight I had to put on my front foot just to keep the club sort of in line with my sternum rather than behind me.
Yeah, so for Dave it felt like he nearly had 100% down the slope. The right foot was really just a passenger, so he was just there for the ride, and that's what we want to feel on those kind of lies. And you saw that he can now be positive with those lies. He knows what club to use, and he knows what he needs to do at setup to be consistent. So in this practice session so far, we've done 3 different lies, and he now knows how to play 2 very well, and he's confident with them. The one that I would get Dave to go and work on between now and the next session is the 30-yarder from a reasonable lie.
Yeah.
He wasn't sure about how long to take.
That's strange, isn't it? Because, you know, it should be an easy shot. It's a reasonable lie, a flat lie, to a green that's just above you but flat. It should be just a simple run out.
And that's it. So the easiest shot we've got Dave to play was the one he struggled with the most. So making sure that he's using the right club, making sure he's picking his landing zone a little bit better, might be something we need to look at. He might go down to his 9-iron, land it shorter and let it run out. So Dave can now have a think about that. How is he going to improve that lie? What does he need to do? Is it club selection or is it technique? Technique sometimes got a little bit short and tentative,
Yeah, it did, yeah.
which we've seen with 2, so a bit more positive maybe, but he could also then do the trial and error, hit 3 with his pitching wedge, hit 3 with his 9, and see which is the most comfortable for him. So guys, hopefully you've enjoyed that. That's the first half of this video of how to obviously practice and how to really start to get yourself doing something productive and not wasting your time. Next week we're going to be looking at 2 more lies. So we're going to be looking at the uphill lie, how Dave plays that and what he needs to change, and we're also going to look at a shot out of the bunker. Following that, what I always want to end a session with, and something that I want you to end your sessions with, is some kind of challenge that gives you some feedback. So
can we do driving?
Yeah, that's not going to be it. That's not going to end well then. So we're going to do some bit of a challenge where you're going to start to think about, right, I get a score. So at the end your score might be 21, then you're going to work on that, getting it lower and lower. So setting yourself a benchmark and then trying to improve on that as you improve your technique and improve your awkward lies. So guys, thanks for watching. As always, we shall see you next week.
See you soon.